Fast wagon, newer fast wagon. This one's gonna be fun. So we have the Audi RS6 Performance and the BMW M5 Touring. And even better news, I'm standing right here in the middle of the Edmunds test track. And that means you're about to see all of this. This is a rocket ship. It sounds good too. And after all that, we're gonna let you know which one is the better choice as the track day weapon of your dreams. Maybe my dreams too. Okay, so before we test it, we have to weigh it. And I know you're curious too. Come on. $54.60. Scales never lie. As expected, the Audi is quite a bit lighter, weighing in at 4,866 pounds. That's almost 600 pounds lighter than the M5, or roughly the weight of a grand piano. Moving on to our acceleration runs, the BMW M5 Touring did 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds and kept on trucking through the quarter mile in 11.3 at 124.7 miles per hour. The RS6 was slightly quicker to 60 in 3.3 seconds and matched the quarter mile time of 11.3 seconds. However, its trap speed was 3 miles per hour slower at 121.5. In our 60 to 0 braking runs, the RS6 was marginally better, stopping in 111 feet compared to the M5's 112 feet. Both of these cars are equipped with optional ceramic brakes, but to put those numbers into perspective, we just tested a regular Mercedes E-Class last year that also stopped in 111 feet. So it's safe to say we were expecting better from these wagons. On the skid pad, the M5 Touring pulled 0.99 Gs, matching another performance plug-in hybrid, the Mercedes-AMG C63. But the RS6 put in a much more impressive 1.05 Gs. That's the same number we recorded with the super grippy Honda Civic Type R. So here's what you need to know. The M5 Touring was worse in every single category than a last generation M5 from 2018. The RS6 Performance, on the other hand, was better than a standard RS6 from 2021 in almost every test. Here we go. The torque you feel is absolutely psycho. This is a rocket ship in a straight line. New M5 Touring. It's the first time that we get the wagon in the US, which is a huge deal. You still get a thumping V8 under the hood, but now along with it, you get a giant hybrid system to give it just a little bit of extra shove. I have been very excited to drive this. Everybody wants to talk about this car's weight, and we should, and we will. But make no mistake, the M5 is rapid in a straight line. I want that, I want that. Oh, there's more. I want that. So you've always been able to configure an M car to drive it just the way you want, but the new M5 takes things way further because of the hybrid setup. There's even more to mess around with. So we have 3 modes for the drivetrain, 3 modes for the energy recovery, the shift logic, the chassis, the steering, brakes, the 4-wheel drive system, and the exhaust system. And each of those has multiple settings to configure just in case you didn't like the one you had before. Then we can also go into the M hybrid modes where you have 5 more options just for the battery alone. You can have it in dynamic, hybrid, you can control the car just in electric mode, or there's one to charge it back to full before you take it out on a track. If you can't tell by now, there is a lot to keep track of. When you're on it, the powertrain is excellent. Electricity and the engine blend together seamlessly, and the gear shifts are quick too. They're actually borderline too powerful, it kind of kicks you in the head. And through the corners here, it's actually surprisingly flat and neutral. Whatever suspension work they did to keep this car settled does work when you're going around a turn. It feels completely pinned to the ground. Whew. But let me tell you, this is not relaxing to drive at all. The M5 Touring feels like a bull in a china shop, and our track is a tiny china shop. It's not just the weight either, it's the sheer size of this car. So this M5 is rolling on Hankook tires, which is a bit of a bummer. They've been fading quicker, they haven't been gripping around the track lap after lap. You can get a high performance tire option. It's either gonna be a Michelin or a Pirelli, and that to me seems like a mandatory thing if you're going to be tracking this car. All right, so while we're cooling down a little bit, let's talk about what this is like when you're not driving around a track. So it's an M5. I drove it here and I'm gonna drive it home as well. So when you get in the car and turn it on, it defaults to all electric mode, assuming you have juice in the battery. Then you wanna put your foot down and get some power out of it. The engine will kick on, but it takes about 1 to 2 business days for that to happen. It's way too slow. Now, of course, you can hit the little red button on the steering wheel and boom, it's a supercar again. But that's kind of my takeaway with this M5. There's plenty of power to be had, but you always have to tweak a setting or hit a button to make it happen. It's not just on-demand speed. God, the torque! It's crazy. It's not slow. It sounds good too. Welcome everybody to the Audi RS6 Performance. So the performance trim is now the only way that you can have an RS6. So the horsepower is up by 30 to 621. Yes, please. They've tweaked the gearbox to make the shifts just a little bit quicker. And then my favorite part, these gorgeous Y-spoke wheels are about 11 pounds lighter at all 4 corners. Now, air suspension is standard, but this car has the optional non-adaptive sport suspension. So just like the M5, there are lots of ways to configure this car the exact way you want it. You hit the drive select mode button. This is kind of like the Spark Notes version of the BMW. There's less to mess around with, and that's a good thing. We have a comfort mode, a dynamic mode, or an auto setting if you want the car to figure out for you. But then we get over to the right-hand side, and there are 2 custom modes for RS. And there I can get a little bit more specific. I can control the suspension, the steering, the engine sound, and the sport differential. My favorite thing is an engine sound. It says present, which is a very German polite way of saying loud. Why not just call it loud? Or you just hit the RS mode on the steering wheel and it wakes it right up instantly. So I drove the RS6 a few years ago when it first came out, and I remember thinking to myself, it's the best all-around performance car in the world, and one that I would never want to bring onto a racetrack. Because it wasn't about slicing through corners and going fast, it was all about the engine. You just wanted to rev it and have it make noise. But this performance, man, they have made the right tweaks to this car, and it feels so much better around this track than I ever thought it would. This feels a total weight class down from the M5. It's quicker, it's sharper, it's more agile, and most importantly, it is way easier to drive quickly. There's just a smoothness to the Audi that's missing in the other car. The shifts are a lot less intrusive, and the power, it builds so much more gradually. It doesn't come all at once and get right in your face. The part I don't like so much is actually what's kind of this car's party piece, the sport differential. You can feel it working and pulling you in mid-corner. You can actually hear it braking the inside wheel to tighten you up a bit. Now, in theory, this is a good thing, but in practice, it just doesn't feel very natural. I don't know if it's because I just hopped out of that BMW, because this car's been around, I've driven it before. But the agility and how planted it feels, it's just so much more enjoyable. You'd be surprised, but 600 pounds lighter makes a big difference when you're on a track this small. This is also a lot more simple, and I mean that in the best way possible. I don't feel like I have to hit 14 different buttons and change all the settings. Yes, you have all of that if you want it, but I also feel like I can just get into this car, put my foot down, and drive hard. I can get everything I need out of it right away. If you're in the market for a fast wagon or a new car of your own, head over to Edmunds.com. So whoever's idea it was to put little streaks of blue running through the carbon fiber, may your pillow be cold on both sides tonight. You deserve the world. That is one of the neatest interior pieces I've seen in some time. And honestly, all of this interior is fantastic. There's Alcantara all around. There's contrast stitching on the seats, the carbon fiber. Everything looks great. I only have one gripe, and that is there's a lot of black plastic running through the center console. So if you're like me and you like to sneak a French fry from time to time, you better have a little cloth with you. And luckily, Audi agrees because they give you one with the car. Easiest way to make a rear seat passenger happy? Blue seat belts. So space-wise, I am doing just fine back here in the RS6, but I gotta say, keep the sunshade closed because my head was about to explode a second ago. It gets very, very hot. You know, I love that Audi actually put some real bolster in the back seat. So if the driver comes into the corner just a little bit too hot, you don't fly over the back seat. You stay nice and situated. And then when it comes to creature comforts, you got pretty much everything you need. I have individual controls for the air conditioning and heated seats. I know BMW catches a lot of hell because they put M logos on every car now, but this is an M5. I think it looks great. What I like a little bit less is the orange here on the seats. It probably wouldn't have been my first choice, but if you're into Halloween, boy, do I have the car for you. The seats themselves are fantastic. There's bolsters on my shoulder. There's bolsters for my side. I'm held exactly the way I need to be going around a racetrack. The only thing I don't like in front of me are these paddles. They're made out of plastic. They're the right size and they're in the right place. This car's pushing 140 grand. We can do a little bit better than that. That is not good. Lots of bolsters in the front seat, no bolsters in the back seat. Bad if you're driving fast. The space back here, on the other hand, is quite good. I got plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom to go along with it. I also like that they include these little charging ports that you can hide. I have individual fan speed control, individual temperature control, and heated seats to go with it. Not terrible in the back seat overall. So obviously one of the main reasons we love fast wagons is because they're also quite practical. You can see with this suitcase that the M5 can handle more than one of these and a car full of people. And if you need even more space, you can drop down the seats on both sides and you have a full, huge area where you can put longer items, which makes it way better than the sedan. But Audi is actually even better. So believe it or not, the Audi actually has quite a bit more space with all the seats up in place. If you're gonna be driving around with people in the car more often, this is the one to go with. That said, the seats also fold down just like they do in the BMW, giving you even more room to put longer items. And my favorite part is this trick little sunshade that slides all the way down and covers up your stuff. Looks are very much subjective, so I try not to dwell on them for too long. But I think side by side, the RS6 has a presence to it that the M5 just can't match. It makes me realize that Audi has not produced a better looking car since the RS6 came out a few years ago. Inside and out, it is fantastic. So today we learned a very simple lesson. Newer and more complex does not necessarily mean better. That Audi's starting to get up there in age, but it nails everything you could possibly want in a fast wagon. And it's the one I would be taking home. But I want to know, which one is your favorite? What would you be putting in your driveway? Let us know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.